You know, corruption is indeed a cankerworm. It is one of the biggest threats to economic, social, and political development anywhere in the world.
And in Nigeria, that problem has been most visible where money and power meet public procurement.
That's a big word. Whether military rule or democratic governance, cases of mismanagement and abuse in government contracts have been a recurring story.
And despite the efforts of successive governments, it remains an uncomfortable reality, one that continues to drain resources and undermine public trust.
Let's take you down, memory lane. In 2007 specifically, the government then took a bold step, and that's the Public Procurement Act 2007 was introduced. It was meant to bring order, transparency, and accountability into the procurement system.
The intention was to cut off corruption at the source.
Absolutely. But like a hydra with many heads, corruption has proved stubborn. Irregularities, loopholes, and procurement infractions are still reported across various public institutions.
And yes, the Act has improved the process, but experts say it has gaps. No fully automated tendering system, weak implementation in some areas, and no independent administrative review body.
Exactly, and that's where a new conversation is beginning to emerge. Procurement professionalism. What's it all about?
That's the question. What does it mean? Is it about skills, standards, or stronger institutions?
So, what is Nigeria still missing when measured against international best practices?
And most importantly, can professionalization, or if you like, professionalizing procurement, help drive transparency, reduce waste, and support sustainable economic growth?
The issue is as big as the word. So, it was big questions and all of that. And exactly the issues we'll be exploring this morning on Good Morning Nigeria.
Yes, we want you to stay with us. I'm Ian John. We're coming to you live on the network service of the NTA. It's the last for the week. Thank God it's Friday.
Thank God it's Friday indeed. I think I should be the one saying that. Anyway, welcome to another insightful conversation here on Good Morning Nigeria. Of course, where issues of national importance take center stage. In a short while, we'll be joining Musa Abubakar on the news. And of course, Chukwudi Okudugbaja will be joining us for the newspaper review. It's Good Morning Nigeria, and let's take the background reports before we bring in our guests.
The essence of procurement extends beyond mere compliance with procedural requirements. From observation and findings, it encapsulates strategic planning, risk management, and value maximization. Procurement professionalization in Nigeria focuses on skills, ethics, and sustainable practices which act as a catalyst for sustainable development by reducing corruption, considered a major hurdle, and increasing efficiency, ensuring value for money, fostering local industry, as well as aligning with global standards. Ultimately, procurement professionalization is a crucial catalyst for sustainable economic development which drives long-term value to achieve broader national goals by boosting local economies through responsible sourcing and building capacity for better budget implementation, professional training, certification, and robust reform like the Public Procurement Act empowers skilled professionals to manage complex supply chain, reduce waste, and align purchasing with sustainability targets. The lack of strategic orientation in public procurement is a significant barrier to achieving efficiency and effectiveness in government spending. By prioritizing procurement professionalization, Nigeria can unlock its economic potential and drive sustainable development. How can Nigeria prioritize procurement professionalization? What can be done to ensure value maximization through procurement professionalization? And how can Nigeria strengthen procurement institutions and framework to promote efficiency and accountability? These and more are some of the questions guests on Good Morning Nigeria will be finding answers to as we discuss procurement professionalization for sustainable development.
All right, that was a background report put together by Ibrahim Belegunda. Ibrahim, we thank you for that insight. Let's quickly, all our guests are seated, so we begin the introductions. And I'll quickly start with, Dr. Fyong Achibong. She's right here with us. Dr. Achibong, of course, is an international development expert, institutional reform specialist and senior strategy advisor with over 3 decades of experience across the public sector, and she's also an international development expert at the national and subnational levels, and it is a great pleasure to have you with us this morning.
Thank you.
We have also in the studio Engineer Isaiah Yusufu.
Thank you.
And he's a Director Compliance, Certification and Monitoring, CCM, at the Bureau of Public Procurement. It's always a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us. And I think All
right. Also joining us for the conversation right here in the studio is Professor Bola Afolabi. He's a professor of strategic supply chain management and a veteran oil and gas executive with over 30 years of leadership experience across Shell, NNPC, and international institutions. He's a senior procurement consultant on the SPESSE procurement node. Many thanks for joining us, Prof.
It's a great pleasure.
All right. Also part of the conversation right here in the studio is Barrister Rabiat Uziges Yahaya, Head of Legal Department, Bureau of Public Procurement. It's a pleasure to have you, madam.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me this morning.
Welcome. Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm very happy that we're having ladies, to talk about this topic. I don't know why, but I think I have an idea, and that's why I'm going to start with Barrister Rabiat. We've seen recently that procurement is beginning to have, priority attention, at least public procurement from the government's perspective, and if I may also say, sustained media visibility. I'm just wondering, why has procurement suddenly become a big deal? Why does it really matter?
Thank you very much for that question. So, you see, procurement is a powerful tool that can be used for socio-economic development. And procurement has moved beyond being merely transactional to being strategic and being transformational. So procurement is being used for sustainable economic development goals. So when government spends money, it goes into the economy and it boosts economic activities and supports local industries. So procurement helps to channel these funds into strategic economic goals. So that's why you see recently people are beginning to see that procurement has this potential and is being used for such purposes.
Great potential.
All right. Many thanks, Madam, for your opening comments. I'd like to get to Professor Afolabi now. Procurement has great potential, and I'm wondering, the word procurement, or if you like, the act, has been on for a very long time. Once there's any system in place, of course, procurement would have to come in. So why professionalizing it at this time? Why is it that important?
That's an incredible question. A lot of people ask this question. Why this time? What is the importance of procurement? If you think about every organization, the annual spend, about 75% of it is attributed to buying goods and services. So when you spend 75% of your budget buying something or contracting services, you have to put your eyes there. Because if you don't, 75% of your budget may, at the end of the day, go out of the window. And Nigeria is so opportune at this point in time. We've never had it so good. Why? Every serious country in the world, they've taken procurement as a big deal. And why is it a big deal? In the British government, in the Cabinet Office, a procurement minister literally sits with the Prime Minister to talk about how do we survive the economy of our country? How do we get value for money in every expenditure? People think that, procurement, I can buy, you can buy, my wife can buy, my children can buy. It is indeed correct. But then think about it this way. Look at human resources. Everybody employs. But then there's professionalization there. Look at marketing, look at accounting. Everybody buys, everybody accounts for their money. But it is when you make it professional in nature, by developing people, the skills required to deliver that service, you will not get value. The key word here is value. And I really would like to congratulate my country people that very first time in our country, procurement is taking its right shape, because the president of the country sat back and believed that if I can save substantial amount of money in the procurement of goods and services, there will be money left to develop other sectors of the economy. That's why it's the big deal.
All right, I like this, the big deal. So it means, Dr. Yusuf, that I don't know if we can then say procurement is very critical in shaping economic growth, you know, in terms of the size. It's also critical in terms of defining or determining infrastructure. It is also very critical to build trust in government, between people and government.
Absolutely.
Would that be right to say?
Absolutely.
Would it be fair?
Absolutely. Now, let me put it this way. Thank you very much. You see, just like Prof said, there can be a better time than now. You know, everybody, both from those who will spend your money, in terms of the government officials that conduct the procurement, and the contractors who carry out the services. You don't want people who are not properly trained and groomed, because you know it's like going to a hospital and the doctor to treat you is not certified. Definitely, you will not be comfortable to allow such a person to open you up.
Obviously.
Right. So the same way, government has realized that, look, we have too many people in the procurement space who really don't understand what they're doing. And the best way to bring that in proper perspective is to make sure they go through the proper training in terms of the government officials. And then they acquire the proper skills to be able to deliver on their own
When you say those in procurement don't understand what they are doing, I'm wondering what understanding is required to just buy something. So you need cars, you need AC, you go to any company that sells, and then you just buy. So what is there to understand about that? And then, you know, I'm thinking, is this not a way of, you know, emphasis on paper certification instead of developing individuals? Because you're talking about transparency, you're talking about accountability, you're talking about saving money and all of that. All of these things are just about the individual, right? Wanting to do things right, basically. So, I mean, what extra skill do you need to do that?
Okay, thank you. You see, it's not just about paper certification. It's not just about having a degree, you know, because we know that people can brandish any kind of document, but when we talk about professionalization, we're talking about going into the nitty-gritty. You need to understand what are the rudiments. For example, the example you gave, buying a vehicle, you must need to understand how do you develop specifications for a vehicle. You have four-wheel drive vehicles, you have two-wheel drive vehicles, you have the clearance of a vehicle. So depending on what you want that vehicle to achieve. So you carry out what is called a needs assessment, you develop your specifications. So all these things are not what you can just know. You need to be taught. And that's why we are speaking about proper training and professionalization. We need to bring them into the space. That's number one. Number two, yes, the paper. But the truth is, we all understand that your skill may not be appreciated, or your skill needs to be vetted and approved and certified before it is accurate, before people can actually understand it. You may know what to do, but you can't just admit that you know what to do. Someone else must look at you and check you and probably set you through an examination, and then you pass, and then the world now knows that yes, he knows what he's doing. So it's both ways. You have the academic area, but you also have the hands-on aspect of professionalization.
Well said, Dr. Yusuf. Well, I like the part, well-trained. And she asked a very, germane
question.
Real-time question, yes, because ordinarily in very structured workplaces, when a need arises, all you need to do, I mean, that's the general perception. I mean, put in a memo, and the memo gets signed, gets approved, and you buy your whatever it is that you need. So, professionalism, how does it work within that process? So we'll come to talk about that. But I'd like to bring in Dr. Achibong. Dr. Achibong, again, want to break down this conversation so that people will really understand and know their own individual roles and how, the part they could play. And another, and I asked the question, how does procurement build trust between the people and government? Let's say my colleague here is a public servant, a minister or a DG who wants to procure vehicles, for our organization, and she goes to the BPP and puts in her whatever. I mean, how does this process build trust? What's the nexus?
So thank you very much for that question. It's about the acknowledgement of expertise, competence, skill. That's what enables the trust platform and that relationship between the citizens and government. Certification and professionalization basically enables the people to know that the process is properly managed. When we talk about procurement, we're talking about the entire ecosystem of government. Procurement is directly related to, effective procurement is directly related to proper spending of budgetary appropriations required for achievement of national development goals, which are communicated through national priorities. For instance, the Tinubu agenda, Nigeria First, and all the different focuses across the different sectors of government is directly related to the ineffectiveness or effectiveness of the procurement system. Who runs the procurement system? The procurement officer, who is now going to be a procurement professional. Professionalization shows I have been built up. I have the capacity, I have the skill. I understand the imperatives. I understand what is critical. I understand what will enable ethical, what will enable sustainable, what will enable alignments. And that's where we're going. If the Nigerian people understand that the Bureau for Public Procurement has a program that is institutionalizing professionalization as a means to enable proper expenditure, proper compliances, deterring corruption, etc., I think that the people will be able to see tomorrow as bright.
How does this professionalization curb corruption?
That's because you now know what you are looking for. Like he said, if we have a project that requires a certain specification and we have procurement professionals that have the skill and the competency and know what they're looking for, then we will not be working in ambiguity. We're working with knowledge and we can advise properly. It's about the knowledge and the expertise. Like he said, when we have people that are not trained professionals, you won't go to them. Why? Because they don't know what they're looking for. It's about the ability for the professional to provide the direction and the advisory that is critical for achieving the objective.
Dr.
Yes.
Achibong, you talk about direction advisory. We know that when there are cases of corruption, most times it is not the procurement officer that is the problem. They have bosses, they have DGs, they have other heads who tell them what to do. So that the procurement officer is certified, does it stop your boss from giving you directions as to how things should go in the organization? So that's why I'm asking you how this in any way curbs corruption.
I want to believe that knowing what to do is as good as doing the right thing. These people have gone through ethical programs that let them know what is right and what is wrong and what could lead to debarments. It's about taking your profession as critical and providing the advice that is necessary. I believe, considering the reforms that are going on right now, courtesy of the Bureau of Public Procurement, that the entire ecosystem is being held accountable for ethical procurement. And so it's a Nigeria first model that is going on. Things are changing in the system, right from the top of the chief accounting officer.
Yes, but that's the way it should be.
Yes,
that's the way it should be. That's being nationalistic.
Yes,
Professor Labe, and again, it sounds abstract.
You're not convinced yet.
Yes, it's a, you know, if I'm not convinced, then the viewer there, probably because we're waiting for responses, we're waiting for messages, the viewer would have to understand a conversation to be able to ask the right questions. So I'm saying professionalism in procurement process, just buying things, sounds abstract.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, we hear of professionalism in fields like law, engineering, you know, even broadcasting. We have professionals, just like both of us.
Everybody can speak.
Yes.
I can hold a microphone and broadcast. But I'm not a professional.
Yes. So please break it down for us. Okay. It sounds too abstract and bureaucratic.
Okay, it sounds so. But I tell you, let me give you a very simple example. Think about driving. I'm not sure what statistics, what studies have been carried out in driving. But I believe, I would like to guess, that well above average Nigerian drivers are not trained. I would like to think so. Why? Even through my family. You see young children, they pick up their dad's car. And I think it
depends on the form of training.
I'm coming, man.
You could have informal training.
No. Informal training is no training. And I'll come to that.
Informal training is no training?
It's not training. It's not training. Let me get there. A guy picking up a car, you are putting the entire life of the community, the road users, in the hands of a driver who is not trained. He doesn't know what the road signs are, and these are critical in passing, driving test exams. He doesn't know what the rule book is this thick in driving. Someone who is not educated, who is not trained, will be endangering the lives of every road user. If you just conceptualize that, think about driving and think about training drivers. FRSC, the road safety people, they will tell you the impact of training. Let's put it aside. Why are we talking about training in procurement? Several studies led by the World Bank, other development agencies, they've come out and they've conducted a lot of studies over the last 10 years. And it's been pointed to only one thing, why there is corruption in public service. It's procurement, and it's due to lack of skilled personnel. We are not talking abstract here, we're talking empirical evidence. It's been proven that due to insufficient capability development, people are not doing the right thing.
So you're blaming the corruption in the country on procurement officers?
I'm not blaming the corruption only on corruption, only on procurement officers. On the entire value chain.
Yeah.
Right from the guy who makes the proposal, I want this table in my office, up onto the director and the DG and the minister who approves it. Why? They don't know what they're doing, and they don't know the consequences of their actions. The PPA 2017 made it very clear. Go out there and ask how many procurement officers understand the law. What the prescription of 2017 PPA. People are not aware. And that's what this current government is doing. Make people aware of their responsibilities. Let them know there is jail time. Let them know there's debarment. Your certificate will be withdrawn if you do the wrong thing. What does that mean? It creates awareness. Once people are aware, people behave differently. And when you train people, you can never... You talk about broadcasting. As I said to you, I can sit in front of the TV and make comments and interview you. But I'm not a journalist. I'm not a professional. The language I will use and the sequencing of the language and the questions will not be the same as if you are speaking. Let us not undermine procurement. And that's what has happened all over the years. People who do not have expertise, we've put them in roles and they've made wrong decisions.
Who are those qualified? Because you get people deployed to certain departments. Any of us can be deployed to any unit. So who are those qualified to occupy that office, to be called procurement officers?
Those who've been through the prerequisite training and academic qualifications. People are studying procurement up to PhD level. People are studying from bachelor's all the way to PhD. This is not a joke. This is
so what's going to happen to
structured-
current procurement officers?
Excellent question, ma'am. We have categorized, we've developed a structure. Yeah, so a competency development framework. Everybody will try to identify where are you right now, even though you're on the job. Nobody's losing their job. Where are you right now? We identify your skill sets. We identify the skill sets with the requirement of the job itself. So we catalog the work, we catalog the individual. We map them, and then we find gaps. And loads of gaps have been found. And that's what we're trying to do, to bridge the gap from your current competency level to the requirement of the job. Every job, every role has a competency framework. So we take the framework, we assess the individual, we map them together, and obviously the gaps are sometimes as much as this. So what do? We train people, they become competent and qualified, and then we have a lot of job rotation, and then people take the sequence. And there are certain roles you cannot occupy unless you have certain level of qualifications.
Okay, Vice Arabiat, the Public Procurement Act has been in existence for quite a while. Yere asked earlier on, why now? But I'm going to ask because the provisions for infractions are all clearly stated, like Prof said, including debarment, dismissal, and all that. Why has this administration, why has it become a spotlight for this administration? Is it to save money? Is it to increase project execution and all of that?
Okay, thank you very much. So you see that it's not as if the laws have always been there, yeah, but it has come to, the time has come for these laws to be implemented as stated in the Act, and then government is tired of people just doing things the way they like. Contractors collecting money and just billing, contractors delivering shoddy jobs, and then procurement officers flouting the laws and all of that. So government is tired of all of these corrupt practices, and we feel that this is the right time to, if we actually want to move the nation forward the way we're talking about, if we want to be strategic in our objectives and our goals, this is the right time to implement these laws and see to it that when people flout the laws, there are consequences. When contractors collect money and then don't do the job, there are consequences. So that's why the debarment policy has come on board to address these ills.
Madam Rabiat,
yes.
Like you agreed, of course the laws have been existing. They didn't just come to life today. What do you intend to do differently? What is the BPP and the organizations involved trying to do differently this time, such that what the law says are implemented and to the letter?
Okay, so we're creating awareness and sensitizing people as to the existence of these laws. Because for really, when people do things without even knowing that there are consequences for them. So when you bring this to their consciousness, it helps them, it guides them and helps them to be ethical in their practices, knowing that when you do something, you're going to be in for it. So, and then we've also come up with the debarment policy, which for the first time in like forever has never existed. So, so this time around, we're saying that the guidelines are there. It's not just the letters of the law. We have moved beyond that to provide guidelines for how these cases, how procurement corruption should be addressed.
So how do you want to go about, the whole process? I'm saying because there's so many MDAs, so many ministries, there's so many, things are happening everywhere. So how is the BPP going to, be able to monitor everyone and know when things are going wrong? That's like...
Okay, so it is the duty of procurement directors, procurement officers in the ministries to report to the BPP where they observe any violations of the law on the part of the contractors and also on the part of procurement officers. So we also have the whistleblower, we have the whistleblowing mechanism as well in place for people to whistleblow when you find people violating the law or carrying out corrupt practices with respect to procurement processes. You are supposed to whistleblow. We have that on our website. You send in your complaints to us, and then we take it up from there. And
what's more? Oh, I'm sorry. What's more? Before now, because it was said earlier on, you asked that question earlier on, procurement officers did not even know their rights, that they can report their bosses. that they can stand on the ground and say, no, I'm not supposed to do that. If I do that, I'll lose my license. I'll lose my practice license, and I will be in for it, like you said. They had no such confidence. Now, they know they're empowered, they know their rights, they know that if a minister or DG asks them to do something, they could say, I'm sorry, that's not in line. And then
what protection do they get if they do that?
Sorry?
What protection do they get if they do that? I would like to know.
Let me just. I think I was privileged to attend, one of the events organized by the BPP, and there was, I think the DG gave an example of a particular procurement officer who refused to succumb to,
pressures.
Yes, pressures from the boss, and I think it was deployed. She was deployed. And the DG said no, he had to, when he got wind of it, he had to intervene. And that procurement officer was reinstated. And I think that's one of the...
Okay, so...
reinstated, and then the DG remained. So how are they going to work together in the same organization?
No, that's I'm
thinking. Because, protection for the procurement officer, once you report, right, you remain in the same organization with the same DG. What happens afterwards? Other things can go wrong with that. So,
well, it's actually a caution to the DG. That boss or that director in charge knows that, oh, I can no longer do as I like. We've seen loads of examples. It's working.
You see, in addition to all what they've said, I wanted to just chip in something.
Don't forget that unemployment is on the rise, by the way. So just
but directors don't have
let me bring another perspective.
Let me bring another
perspective to what Rabiat said.
Yes.
You see, now over the last 2 years, thereabout, 1 year, sorry, since the DG came on board, 2 units were created, 2 new units. One, audit and surveillance, a full-fledged unit, another full unit on monitoring. Now, what you're seeing is that the Bureau has ramped up its ability to monitor the procurement space. The ecosystem was a bit loose. So now we see that because of these two, you see, when you begin to build up manpower on certain things, that particularly monitoring and surveillance, these are issues that we hadn't been are now being it's been ramped up actually. So we're out on the field now more. And again, sometime in May last year, 2025, the threshold was increased. So that has given more responsibility to procuring entities to carry out their activities. They don't need to come to the Bureau for every single thing. And that has also freed up human resources in the Bureau for us to carry out the monitoring. So we've seen that from last year till now, there's been a ramping up of monitoring activities. You
know what she actually, the import of her question is, now that procurement officer who maintained professionalism, so to speak, what happens to her if eventually she has to work with the same Oga who had directed her? Which hunting is there? What protection?
Let me. Yes. Can I also bring another perspective?
Yes.
You tried to intimidate someone to do the wrong thing, and then an organization stands and says, "No, you can't." That is, like the prof said, believe me, it's going to send a note of caution to the accounting officer that it's no longer business as usual.
Can be set up.
Well, Dr. Achibong, I'm thinking in all of this. Why put procurement officers at risk in all of this? Why don't we think technology in dealing with some of these issues? Is there no way that e-procurement, I'm just thinking,
it's on board.
Can help deal with this issue and block leakages, like you said, and corruption, and still protect procurement officers? Because,
So it's like you may be a procurement professional in the next 1 month because you basically are answering the questions. You're answering the questions.
Yes.
So e-procurement is on board, it's upcoming, but beyond all of that, there are 2 key stakeholders. We have the procurement professional, we have the accounting officers, and we have them within a larger ecosystem. What the DG has been doing has been educating that other stakeholder. As much as he is educating the procurement professional, how does he do this? In the meetings, the fake meetings, in his interactions And I know that we're going to have a permanent secretary's retreat, which is going to be purely educational. Not only educational, which might be about 90%, but will be an intervention that can answer issues, questions, and enable them understand that we have a new emergence of professionals that are going to do the right thing. Your job is to partner and collaborate so that we can achieve the objectives of the program, the SPACey program, and now the NPCP, and the broader agenda of government. So that management of this key stakeholder and that key stakeholder and e-procurement that will streamline so that we have information and data that is driven through a more refined process will enable the balance. We're coming to a place where both the chief accounting officer and the procurement officer will understand what their roles are and will understand what their boundaries are. So we don't see the witch hunting. I've been in situations where I have been aware that the procurement officer has said no. You know what happens? The chief accounting officer understands that it's an integrity issue and actually acknowledges that he has the right person. Sometimes we see the other side of it, but I see the acknowledgement of professionalism, the acknowledgement of integrity, and the acknowledgement of professional advisory. It keeps him or her, the chief accounting officer, safe. Because procurement has taken a different turn in Nigeria. Nigerians are demanding for value.
Absolutely.
So I'm sorry, just to add to the question you asked. So the procurement officers are under the supervision of the BPP. So procurement officers cannot be posted at will by their permanent secretaries or their directors without BPP. So that helps to that helps to protect procurement officers and helps protect them against retaliatory actions that can come up from whistleblowing and all of that. So and then we're drilling down that supervision to agencies and parastatals as well. So for now, it's just in the ministry, but eventually it's going to cascade to the agencies and parastatals in a way that you cannot transfer, you cannot post procurement officers without the express approval of the BPP.
I was going to come to you, but let me just, tee up this question. I would like us to deconstruct, what we actually mean by being professional or professionalism within the process of procurement, because there's a difference between getting certification, academic certification, and knowing and complying with the process itself. So just give us a scenario where a procurement officer is being professional.
So I think that Prof actually took a long time to talk about that. It's about the competencies and the skills. And the
just give us a vivid,
it's like an HR professional. It's like an accounting professional. You should have the accreditation that shows that you have optimized the skills and competencies and you are acknowledged to be at some levels. That's one. And because you are acknowledged to be at some level, it is also anticipated that you have the necessary skills to perform at that level. That is what professionalization is about. It's about an acknowledgement of your competencies and your skills and the absorption that is required to perform at a particular level.
Okay.
Going through a program.
Let me also reinforce her response. In the process of certification, the compliance issues are unfolded to the trainees. So they come out, the certification, like I said earlier, is not just an academic thing. They're also going to be taken through the rudiments of what should be done and what should not be done. The compliance issues are part of, in fact, before you get certified, you'll be taken through those compliance issues. So by the time you come out, you are rounded. You understand the theoretical perspective of the work, of the job you're doing. You understand the compliance issues. You understand the regulatory issues. So it's a total package.
So what is the percentage of procurement officers that are professional today?
Properly.
Thank you for that good question.
Sorry, do you need water? You need a cup of
Am I
water?
do? Yes.
Yes, please. Can we get water?
Yeah.
Percentage in Nigeria, let's put it at 50%.
So what do you want to do to get the others
We've
qualified?
already done it. What we're doing is in the... Let me take you back one step. I did mention earlier on that the World Bank and other development agencies conducted a massive study, not only in Nigeria. Procurement is not only a Nigerian issue. It's given this high-level visibility. Every country that wants to make progress must pay attention to procurement. So they conducted these studies and found out that the money they are supporting many governments with are not well spent. That's the result of the study. And they're not well spent. There are gaps and loopholes all across the value chain. There's about 7 chevrons, from needs identification, to developing specification, to going to the market, delivery of the goods and contract services, delivery of the roads and everything, paying invoices, and then closing out the contract. Across the entire chain, there's corruption. Massive corruption across the entire chevrons. So, for a procurement officer to be able to do the right thing, must understand what the loopholes are in those areas. You ask a question about value. You want a vivid example. I'll give you one. I spent 35 years in the hydrocarbon industry. 24 for Shell and 10, 11 for NNPC at very senior level. I'll tell you the value I bring to the table to be recognized as a global procurement expert. I challenge drilling engineers. You want to drill this well, the value of the well is probably $2 billion. They make their procurement requirements, they make everything. Because we train, the international organizations train procurement specialists to understand the role. We call them category manager. Every category of spend has somebody who has intellectual capability about that product. I will not put you there to be buying goods without understanding that product. So accountants, engineers, instrumentalists, doctors, medical scientists, they are in the procurement division. It's not only just art people. Across the entire professionalization, you find procurement people. So what do? The drill engineer is focused on excuse me. He's focused on delivery of his well. Quite rightly so, because he wants to deliver that well so that he can produce hydrocarbon in a particular time frame. But he has his role. I have my role. And my role is what? Value for money.
Yes.
I asked him, I'm sorry. I've had a situation where a drill engineer says he wants to run a particular well with chromium. And these are metallic pipe structure that costs 4 or 5 times more than what is necessary. And I challenged. I said, sir, on the previous project, we have material that are still left on the shelf in the warehouse. This value, what you are asking for is 4 or 5 times the value. We don't need to buy them. What do you mean? Are you a drill engineer? Sir, this is what my role determines. We took it to a higher senior, a more senior officer, and it was ruled in our favor. That is the value we bring to the table.
That's because you understand that aspect. I would like to get to Dr. Yahaya, right? Engineer Yahaya,
Yes.
Engineer Isaiah Yusufu, right? I'd like to get to you.
Yes,
You know, he's speaking because he understood that aspect. I mean, you hear the number of years he has been in that field. Let's give an example, say the NTA. A procurement officer, you're supposed to sign books for, they want to buy broadcast equipment. He may not really know anything about broadcast equipment. We use ACEs, we use cars, we use, all kinds, rugs, tables, chairs. So how do you want to get the procurement officer to be knowledgeable about all these fields, that the organization would need to be able to give the right direction, or if you like, to be able to, comment if the specifications are not right?
You see, he gave an example from an industry he has operated in, but I don't think he has a background in engineering. No. But he was able to challenge there. You don't have to, your procurement officer here in NTA, for example, does not need to be a media specialist.
No. So how would he know the right cameras?
He needs to be informed. Who developed the specification is not the procurement person. Procurement, at the point of buying, when you want to buy, you carry out what is called a needs assessment. The needs assessment is conducted by the users, the end user, right, in collaboration with the procurement people. So you're not going, the media people need to be in there because they know the cameras they want.
Correct.
They know the microphones that they need. So they will bring the specifications into the basket. Then together with procurement people, they put their heads together and say, okay, is this the best alternative? That is where it comes in.
But in that case,
the procurement man cannot take professional responsibility for your own specifications.
So
no.
it means that the procurement officer cannot guide in that way. Instead, he's going to be guided by those who understand what it is that
of course.
So how does that block it?
It's a teamwork, it's a collaboration.
It's a teamwork. You see, and we also need to get to that place where we need to begin to trust one another. Nobody is saying that the people who are going to buy the cameras, they're not just looking up for trying to steal. You understand what I'm saying? The procurement person too. You see, when two people are coming, trying to bring out the best solution, the procurement man is expected to do his own research. He can bring an option and say, look, these cameras that you have proposed,
exactly,
there's a cheaper alternative. You are the user. You will technically you look at it, okay, the pixels and whatever. No, I don't think this will match. But if it will match, but there must be interactions. That is where the corruption issues will reduce. Where one man runs the entire chain, that's where the risk is higher.
So just to add that procurement is a multidisciplinary. It's a multidisciplinary endeavor. Everybody brings in their professional knowledge to bear in buying and in procurement processes. So it's not just one person's show. It's not just for the procurement officer. The QS is there, the engineer is there, the procurement IT specialist. Everybody comes together to work for the good of it.
Procurement officers, permit me, most times they are always after cheaper, cheaper.
Value for money.
Yes, value for money.
Not necessarily
they look at. They always look at ways to cut.
No, let me rephrase. You see, in the law.
You are rephrasing now.
Yes, in the law, value for money is interwoven with fitness for purpose.
Yeah.
It's not in isolation. So when you are saying this cup is, I can give you a 10 naira cup. I can give you a 200,000 naira camera. It must be fit for purpose.
Will it deliver the service?
It's not just that it is cheaper. No. But if it is cheaper and can still deliver, why not use it?
So
that's
now,
what we are saying.
With this whole plan by the BPP, does it mean that organizations will need to recruit more procurement officers, or if you like, competent procurement officers in different fields? Because, I mean, we already have procurement officers in different organizations who were recruited with the old order. This is a new order. So what's the plan really?
They'll be trained. And that's the whole process of the training, retraining, and certification process.
Yes, I did.
They'll be trained. And if there's going to be, at the end of the day, if after all that there's still a manpower gap,
yes,
then you can now begin to think of adding more, recruiting additional manpower into the system.
This training, how long is it going to take? Is it a one-off thing, or is it going to be continuous?
No, definitely. From what we've already discussed, you know that this can't be a one-off activity. It has to be a continuous and sustained capacity building.
How do you want to go about the training? I would like to know. Is it that procurement officers are supposed to, is it an online kind of training? Is it that they have to be at the BPP?
No.
What's the plan in the whole process of training?
There's a component that is online. In fact, a large component of it is online. So that makes it even easier in terms of undergoing the training. So you don't have to be, it's not an on-site training that we need to take you out of your work schedule. So that way it's easier.
So if a procurement officer fails to attend or comply with this training, what happens?
It's not just his job.
Eventually he will no longer be able to fit into that job role. That's just the reality.
He will need to recluse.
And it doesn't mean he's going to be out of this. You know how the public service works. He'll just need to find somewhere where his skill will be more useful. But in procurement, where procurement is going, procurement officers must be on.
But that will bring. We have messages that have come in. Okay. But Barrister, I'd like you to just speak to this briefly before we take these messages. Does the Procurement Act recognize procurement as a professional function that requires all of these, qualities and skills that you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Or do we need another legislation?
No. The Procurement Act as it exists presently is very robust. The Procurement Act presently was modeled after the UNCITRAL model law, which is the United Nations Commission on International Trade Law. So it's very robust to cater for all these policies and to help professionalize procurement, because it expressly says that it's a professional function that needs to be delivered by professionals. So and it empowers the Bureau to coordinate training, to build institutional capacity, and it also empowers the Bureau to make policies and to provide guidelines for procurement practices in Nigeria. So as it is like this, it's very robust.
No need for tweaking or amending?
Well, there has been like 2 amendments so far by the Finance Act of 2020 and 2022. Yeah, but as it is like this, it's very okay for use. It's very robust. It's good to go. But it's been in existence for 19 years, like you said. And as practitioners, we're seeing that there are areas that needs to be tweaked for efficiency and all that. So efforts are underway to do that review.
Let me also include
but there's nothing fatally wrong with the Act as it is.
Absolutely.
There's nothing
Section 4
wrong.
of the Public Procurement Act makes it clear. It speaks about the objectives of the Bureau. Now, one of the objectives of the Bureau as enshrined in the law is professionalization of procurement. So we have the powers already, statutory powers, to professionalize. So it's not like we are working outside of our domain or our enabling legislation.
So there's a new sheriff in town.
Absolutely.
Doing this whole...
Doing something new, yes.
So going forward, what will be the criteria to employ procurement officers?
Well, as of now, as far back as 2005, right, there's what is referred to as the National Council and Establishment. That it's comprised of heads of civil service of all the states and the federal. They have a meeting where they deliberate on issues of governance. So in 2005, when the procurement cadre was created in Nigeria, in that meeting, the disciplines, the courses or the disciplines that can be absorbed into the cadre were clearly spelled out. Over time, from 2005 till now, procurement has evolved, not only in Nigeria, globally. So I think we've pushed a proposal that list of disciplines should be looked at again, because there are new disciplines that have come on board that you shouldn't exclude them from procurement. But for now, it's listed there. You have engineering, you have lawyers, you have purchasing and supply, you have quantity surveyors, you have economists, accountants. It's listed there. These are the people that can be absorbed into the...
Engineer Yusufu, thank you. Thank you also for staying with us. Let's take some of the messages that you have brought in. Ire, I believe you've got some messages, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, please.
All right, just read a few. This one says professionalism is very essential in procurement. If there is need to procure materials for a project, the practicing professionals in that field should be involved, not only people trained as procurement officers. You can train an admin officer as procurement officer to go and do procurement for hospital equipment, as an example. He or she can't get it right. Okay, that's coming from Iyabo Ayodele in Ekiti State, talking about why professionals should be.
I think that was what we said.
Okay. Let's answer that and then continue. Yes.
Right now in this country, in the Federal Ministry of Health, there has been in the last 3 years remodeling of procurement profession. And who are the people at the forefront? Medical people. When I was head of procurement, contracting and supply chain in NMPC, I insisted that I must take all the procurement people from pharmaceutical departments. And they were pharmacists, they were doing procurement. What did we do? We turned their brain around and we taught them commerciality.
Please don't turn their brain around.
No, what I mean is,
yes,
we taught
literally
them commerciality. They have all the medical knowledge and all the medical sciences knowledge, but we say to them, guys, you are great in what you do, but we need to teach you commerciality. So that if you have 100 million naira as your budget, excuse me, that 100 million naira you used to spend, you'll be able to spend only about 80 of it to get the same value of what you get. 20 million is left for other things. And today, the organization is enjoying it. Okay. Right in the public service as well.
In a field like medical practice, you want to say that, is that not making the limited staff, go the way of procurement instead of dealing with, patients, which we currently have a shortfall at the moment?
Number one most critical thing for pharmacists is drugs. Without drugs, there's nothing they can do. So if they are involved in the procurement of those goods, it doesn't take away their cap as being pharmacists, but we are putting commercial knowledge onto them, they become a better person.
Okay, I'll read some more messages. This one says, good morning, presenters. Good morning, our guests in the studio. In Nigeria context, procurement processes in ministries, agencies, commissions, etc. normally suffer setback. It's because of lack of trust, corruption, improper training of people involved. Let's revamp our procurement sector. Thank you. That's from Chris Simon. And that one says, good morning. My name is Francis Motobai from Lagos. What is the relationship between Procurement Bureau and SON? There are so many substandard materials out there, and they're still in the market because contractors, even government agencies, patronize some of them.
I think that's a very fundamental question. Who would like to take a look into that?
Let me speak on that. You see, the law is clear on that, and the law speaks about procurement. Section 16 speaks about procurement and warranties, durability of goods and services. But you see, there's also a statutory organization that deals with standards.
Yeah.
What we will do is, in the procurement process, we point them to make sure whatever you are doing meets these standards. The bureau can't take up everything, and you can't use procurement to achieve everything. The issue of standards, there's a statutory organization that deals with standards. Ours is to make sure that there's a provision in the law that points you to. So every contract, provided they use the standard contract of BPP, there's already the warranty clause there. There's already the clause on durability of services. So such that if a contractor supplies anything substandard, is by his own cost, is to replace them. And if he provides something that packs up before the indicated warranty period, he should replace them. And that's why government is also saying that if they are buying products, there's a policy now, and which the bureau is driving. If you are going to buy equipment, government says, look, we're only going to buy from people who are authorized by the manufacturer.
Do we enforce that in this
Absolutely.
country? Really? Because, I mean, let's give an example of roads, for example. We see contractors, go work on the road, and in 3 months they are bad. I don't see.
Go to. Have you been to Barabaya? Yeah? Just the road along after Mogadishu. It's every year. That portion between Mogadishu Barracks and Kugbo Furniture. It's you need to go there.
So these are the practices that we say that the government is tired of. So that's why the development process is coming on board to sanction contractors like that.
We hope you enforce it anyways. This one here is coming from Dr. Remu from Ilorin. It says, good morning. Does the BBP monitor procurement processes in states and local governments? Because that's where you have a lot of violations.
Unfortunately, procurement, she will speak more, but procurement falls under, it's not under the exclusive list, so it's under the concurrent list. So we operate at the federal level. States are encouraged to set up their own procurement bureau, which many have, but a few, maybe one or two, a few have not, but many have. At the local government, since the autonomy was granted, we are looking at, we're working with, trying to see how we can collaborate with them to help them and give them that.
So the straight answer is that the Public Procurement Act, as it is, it does not, the scope of application does not extend to states. It's only for federal MDAs. And then it only extends to states where you have 35% of the project being funded by the federal government. So that's the only time is applicable to state.
I think something should be done in this regard, because I mean that's where most Nigerians are, and that's where they should feel the impact of government, and we should stop corruption, like this message is saying.
Let's deal with the federal level, because there's so much to at the federal level that needs to be tackled. Thank you.
All right.
Are you done?
So no, I have just a few left. This one says, good morning to you all. How do you expect a civil servant procurement officer who wants to make money from a project to report a contractor he's colliding with to make money? I honestly believe the procurement professionalism talk might not work outside technology. That's coming from Cecilia. Okay,
so you know that when people don't know that they can lose their practice license, or they can be sanctioned or even be jailed, they can do whatever they like, right? They might not report, but there will be other people watching them. It's not just between the two of them. Just
know that better pay for procurement officers to make them
eventually the Bureau is working on that, and it's going to be something that is nationwide application.
Okay. Are you done?
I'm not done.
Don't forget, I told you that we have ramped up monitoring and surveillance.
Yeah. I think,
so it's no longer business
I think
as
the
usual.
part of better pay across the service is very important. Even though there's an ethical consideration, as a procurement officer, you should be someone that understands the values of accountability, transparency, ethics, etc. But having worked in the civil service, I've seen that most of the time, their considerations are inabilities to meet the demands of their normal lives. But with this training and the understanding for ethical considerations in delivering value of your work objective, I think that it's a mindset shift. We have to come to a place of change, and the change needs to be communicated. The change is being communicated through the certification program that's ongoing, and the civil servants need to understand that there is a duty to the nation as a whole in that role that you occupy, and that really helps to stem the considerations of corruption, while government in its own is doing what it needs to do to enable them adjust to current realities or provide them with what will help them with the current realities.
All right.
Thank you.
I'll take just two more. Protecting procurement professionals from corrupt superiors requires a combination of robust institutional frameworks, clear ethical guidelines, and legal safeguards that encourage a speak-up culture without fear of retaliation. That's coming from Nando Moya from Jos. And finally, this one says, good morning. Honestly, there is a need to review the Public Procurement Act 2007, which is long overdue. Some MDAs are taking advantage of many loopholes in the current act. Thank you so much. All right. So.
Well, no more questions there. Okay, let's take a short break. When we come back, I'll take my messages. All right. Thank you and welcome back to the program. Our conversation has been on how to professionalize. Is that correct? Yes. Professionalize, that's the way. Procurement process. And we've had very robust conversation. My colleague has just finished her set of questions, so let me take mine, and I'll start from bottom top. This is from Mustafa R.A. Mustafa, you didn't tell us where you're residing, but this is your question. What are the requirements of being a professional procurement officer? Is it restricted to a particular discipline? How long does it take to be a procurement professional? Do you have a training institute? Who takes the question? Professor. Okay.
Well, in Nigeria,
a training institute?
There are many. At the moment, we've actually paired this into two blocks. One for new people who want to join the profession, let's say for bachelor's degree, and for existing practitioners. So for the new people, there are 6 universities in Nigeria that have been accredited as a center of excellence. I believe it's Ahmadu Bello University, Unilag,
ATBU, Bauchi,
Uniben. So these universities are taking bachelor's degree, and they're also taking short courses, and they're taking master's degree. Now, that will take care of people who are coming to the profession new. Those who are already existing, who are delivering this service, this SPESSE program, which is a funded program between the World Bank, it's a federal government initiative.
SPESSE.
It's simply sustainable procurement, environment and social standards.
Okay.
That came out of a study, as I mentioned earlier on, by development partners, which identified challenges in key areas of development in order to meet the United Nations 17, sustainable development goals. Now, procurement is one of them, and how to make it sustainable. Second thing is social standards, women affairs and issues like this. And also environment. You know about issues of oil pollution and all those sort of things. So what are the standards, global best practices? So that is what the federal government of Nigeria has asked the World Bank to support in funding. It's a loan and we'll pay back. So that program has now been fully developed, and it has categorized procurement into several cadres. I think about 5 cadres. From the procurement officer's cadre all the way to fellow. Each of these categories has its own bucket of requirements, what you have to do, what qualification you will get, and how we train you along to become professionally certified in that category. And that will lead to what job you do in the public sector.
All right, thank you, Prof. Mustafa, I hope you got that. The next one is coming from Samuel Adamu Joshua. And he says, when a contractor is issued a bill of quantities or a code to quote, what is the standard or acceptable percentage margin expected from the contractor? And I like this question because, because I also have it as a question I like to. That's why I said we're coming to the nitty-gritty.
Okay.
So again, the question is, what is the standard or acceptable percentage margin expected from the contractor? At least one that will not be termed as an infraction, yes, or a misconduct under the code.
Okay, now.
Secondly, secondly, situations where a quotation is submitted and remains under review for 6 months or more before feedback is given, it becomes difficult for the quoted price to remain price fluctuations or volatility and variations in contract. You know those things. So he is asking, it becomes difficult for the quoted price to remain the same due to changes in the market prices and other cost factors. How do you factor all of this in? So 2 questions.
Okay, thank you. Number one, there is no minimum or recommended or acceptable margin. That is left to the contractor. You can, because if you do that, if you set a bar, what you're saying is that anyone who is not ready to make that minimum level of profit will not be given that contract. So it is the responsibility of the contractor, and that's where the pricing dynamics of each contractor comes in. Some will decide that they just need 5%, some 10%, some 20%, some 30%, some want to make, and also a contractor's pricing has to do with his overhead. If he has a massive office and he has a contract, he's expected to be able to run his office while he's doing that contract. And if it's a smaller office, then his overhead will be smaller. And that's why we have categorization of contractors. You have category A contractors, B, C, D. So you have contractors who, and if they are going to bid, we also ensure that they bid within that same category. Because if a contractor that has a small overhead bids with a contractor with a massive overhead, definitely their prices are going to be different. It's like Isaiah and Sons Nigeria Limited going to bid with Julius Berger. We're going to offer different prices. Berger will do a different kind of job. He has an office in Germany and all those places to see. I just have me and my one small office with 10 staff. So these things affect the pricing.
It's expected that BPP should have a ceiling, a benchmark of expected
that's price control.
Profit.
No, that's price control. It's a free market, it's a free economy. They are expected to price according to what they think is reasonable. So when it comes to that, then you now evaluate, and the person whose price, which has the most economical bid that can deliver that job, gets it. So we don't want to...
Yeah. However, it's slight, the answer is perfect.
Yes.
Contractor, the tendency is people hover around 15%. Having said that, a company estimate is critical in evaluating the bids, which means I'm the one giving out the job in my department. And that's where professionalism comes in. I have knowledge of the job. I understand what I'm looking for. I create my own company estimate. And it's the company estimate that we use in evaluating and comparing the bids.
Okay, so there's also another question as to bid validity period.
Yes.
So I think the bid validity, a contractor is supposed to attach a bid security to its bid, which will be valid for a period of time. I think 180 days thereabout.
It depends on it depends on and the whole idea is that it's expected that the tendering period to award should be consummated within the validity of that bid.
Yeah.
So once the contractors, assuming it gives a validity period of my price is valid for 90 days. If you are not able to conclude your procurement process and award the contract within that 90 days, if you come back to me and say, okay, take your contract, I say, no, my price are no longer valid, except you are going to, I can't hold on to those prices. So every contractor...
He loses the contract.
Yes.
That's what happens.
Yes, but the whole idea is for
his fault.
It's not his fault, but the whole idea is for the procuring entity to make sure they conclude everything within the validity period of that deal.
And if there's a gap, we go back to the contractors.
Yeah. Can you extend? Are you willing to still continue?
Okay.
Yes. Are you willing to still continue at that price? So you need to extend its validity.
That's interesting. I have this other one from Richard from Rivers. Procurement is one of the most powerful tools available to government for driving economic growth. This is just his comment. Thank you, Richard. Blessing Omofakbo. She says, I think the National Procurement Authority should develop a material and service price benchmarks should develop a material and service price benchmarks to have a uniform pricing. This will curtail overpricing, bossy contracts, and corruption. You said it. You said price control.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, that may also stifle competition. Because everybody will just be zeroing in on what the authority has said.
Yeah, and quality.
And some contractors want to, they don't want too much, while some want too much. So it has to be, that's why there's a competition.
Okay. Mohammed Ismaila, you say, good morning to you as well. There is a need to review the obsolete Public Procurement Act 2007, which is long overdue and it's due to overhaul. Barrister?
No.
There have been amendments.
No, there have been amendments, yes. And I also stated that efforts are underway to review the Public Procurement Process Act. Sorry.
But you also say it's okay the way it is.
Yeah, there's nothing fundamentally wrong with it. There's nothing.
The professionalization, because it provides that we should be professionalized. It's sufficient. So what she said is it's sufficient for the current ongoing professionalization,
okay, but
there's a need to
yes,
and that is ongoing as well.
In addition to that, there's nothing fundamentally wrong.
If it can be improved upon, which is what we're advocating, which is what she said, there's an ongoing process to amend.
Yes.
Right? But as it is now, there's nothing so flawed in the act
that we cannot still
operate.
Yeah. That's perfect. Okay.
There are more messages here.
Yes, allow me to finish. Yusuf Abdul, you've sent in your message from Zaria. Procurement professionalization, to him, seems to have only raised looting that promote nepotism, secrecy, and manipulation, without the input of end users and beneficiaries, nor getting appropriate value for public expenditure. Getting appropriate. You want to weigh in?
That's his own opinion.
That's what we are here for. Value for money.
Correcting the wrongs.
Correcting the wrongs. Yeah.
Okay. Just Jones, last one. Jones Mexico says, I will advise the BPP to train account officers not to focus on lower employee.
We're doing that. The training is from top to bottom, the entire value chain.
Yeah. Okay, I'm about to read some more comments here, but something just I'm thinking about. Are procurement officers part of the budget process? Yes. Budgeting for organizations, are they part of that?
The owner of the budget is the accounting officer. It's the department that issues out the work. But procurement officers have the responsibility to take the planning, the procurement plan. The annual procurement plan has a big element of the budget in there. Without the budget, there's no plan. So we work together with the users.
But you don't necessarily determine how the budget goes.
No.
So don't you think that procurement officers, or maybe the BPP, should look at how the budgeting process in the first place should be done in a proper manner? I'm just thinking in my head. Because
I want to corroborate what she said. Maybe we'll find a way to do a crash course for you, because in all honesty, that conversation is already on the table. Because conversation.
Because if the budget is bloated,
the
budget is bloated. Sometimes the procurement officers are compelled. This is what we have budgeted. The money is there, so just go ahead and do it that way.
That conversation is ongoing.
If the budget is the
with the budget office,
of course you can curb some issues.
With the budget office, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Budget and National Planning.
Okay, so you want to call me as a procurement officer?
No, we are considering it.
You have to pay me very well, by the way. All right, I'll read some more.
Just to add to that the fact that a budget is made for a project does not mean that is what is awarded for at the end of the day. Exactly. So it might be bloated as it looks, but it doesn't always end up. It doesn't always.
But if it is released,
the cost.
That is the start of the whole.
So that's the budget performance.
So those conversations, So those conversations are underway. There's an entire ecosystem that requires integration in these money issues, starting from the budget to the procurement, all tailored towards economic development and the value of the different value chain people to enable. And so when you're talking about, I'm given a budget as a procurement officer and I have to deliver, we're saying that the conversation needs to take place where budgeting and procurement have a handshake so that I am not driving what you are proposing. That's the conversation.
Yeah.
True.
In every reform, we need to take into consideration who the key stakeholders are that will enable optimal achievement of the objectives of the reform. And this is the conversation. And that's why we said she needs to come on board, because she's asking the right questions.
You need her to change career.
She will change career.
Or should be a procurement journalist.
You know, because these are the questions.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yes.
This is a fantastic idea.
Yes, that's the right question. What happens to the entire... So we are looking in one angle, and someone says, but you get the envelope from somewhere, and you implement based on what you have received.
Let's talk
There
about
has to be a
collaboration.
handshake,
Let's
yes.
talk about collaboration to achieve all of this, because it's very key, you know, interagency collaboration.
Absolutely.
How are you collaborating with other agencies that are also charged with similar responsibility, the EFCC, the ICPC,
It's
and all
never
that?
been this good. I think if she will be able to speak more on that, we have MOUs with all the anti-corruption agencies and
Professional bodies as well.
professional bodies. You know, it's on. It's on. Since the DG came on board, he's really been doing a fantastic job in terms of collaboration, in terms of innovation, in terms of you know, just generally raising the bar on procurement. He's
Okay,
doing
let me just read a few.
Okay, sorry. Yes.
So we can wrap up. This one says, good morning. If we apply discipline in our procurement process, we'll have a very good management of our resources. Shun away corruption and duplication in procurement, then you will achieve budget discipline. Best wishes. That's coming from Bello Mohammed. Another one says, good morning. My name is Aisha. The impact and quality of procurement processes agencies is a source of concern. Some procurement departments don't have a single professional in these fields. BPP should intervene, please. Another one says, good morning all. Thank you, BPP, for professionalizing procurement in Nigeria. This is long overdue. That's Medina from Abuja. And finally, in terms of, in terms of responsibility, who is a procurement officer answerable to? Is it BPP or the employer? That's Ayuba from Lokoja.
Dual responsibility. One line and one functional.
Let's also look at just quickly. We are almost down the last leg of our conversation, and I'm talking about my mind is going through how BPP is aligning with the educational sector, because that is where a lot of procurement activities go on, and I don't want to say it. You know what happens with it. So are you working closely with the likes of Tech Fund and all that?
Yes, like I said, Tech Fund, UBEC, the Federal Ministry of Education. As a matter of fact, the Bureau, in conjunction with the Ministry of Education and Tech Fund, is developing an e-system for their procurement. And they were using the education sector as a pilot.
Okay.
Right, and it's going to really streamline and eliminate a lot of, not eliminate, but reduce to the barest minimum human interference in the process. So that, number one, will increase efficiency. You have faster procurement processes, because the education system, they work with their cycles,
Yes.
So they need things done, like yesterday, and so that will help in terms of efficiency. Also help to eliminate corruption in that circle, because where you have less human involvement, if everything is automated and electronic, you see that there'll be less cases of corruption and all that. So definitely there's something going on.
Thank you. Dr. Achibong, I'd like to get to you, and I'm asking you this question specifically because earlier when you spoke, you talked about the need to review pay and all that, because, procurement officers have personal needs, and all of that would shape how they make decisions when it comes to procurement. You also talked about a mindset shift. Agreed that this professionalization is a good idea, it's a good step. You could be a professional, you know the right thing to do, but still do the wrong thing, right? So how do we change that mindset such that everyone, that's what we need at the moment, whether you're a procurement officer or whatever, or being a journalist, anything at all, that mindset shift where we're thinking about what is actually right, irrespective of what my pocket is saying or if I have food on my table.
I think that maybe just to rephrase, I think that comment came from a question that came from someone saying a procurement officer is colluding, and I'm saying it's because they sometimes have bigger needs, and so there's a need for a mindset shift. It's a Nigeria first mindset. That's what we need. Mm-hmm. It's about understanding that we own the country. The country is our current, it is our future. And as long as we understand that we own the country, Nigerian first, national loyalty, then we begin to think about how to not only develop, but sustain development. We begin to think about posterity also as we do our work, because we own the nation and we need to build the nation. In all reforms, the most important thing is strategic communication. Strategic communication enables the selling of the reform, which is a product. And when people buy the reform, and they are then able to participate as change agents. We do believe that the first crop of professionalized procurement officers who are going to convocate on the 29th of January have imbibed the mindset through the different models and the courses that they have taken right through this particular program, the National Procurement Certification Program. As a result, they are our first change champions. And as they continue to deploy their work based on the additional skills and competencies they've imbibed through the process, we're going to see the change. They have the culture now. They have the communication now. They have the expertise. They have engaged and have experienced what it takes to be a professional. So it's about Nigeria first, which is what we are selling. It's about professionalizing, which is what we are selling. It's about the understanding that it encapsulates Nigeria itself as a product, not only for our internal ecosystem, but for the global ecosystem. What is it going to do to us when we change our mind and think Nigeria first? The international community will see us and trust us. So not only the trust from the internal ecosystem, who are the Nigerians, but the international community. What does it do for us? Greater trade. What does it do for us? For great foreign direct investment increases. What does it do for us? Cross-global interactions, partnerships, everything about the system develops. I've worked in development for a very long time, and I know that perception is something that greatly impacts us when we do not have our procurement processes in place the right way. And so mindset shift is within, but then it enables without. The shift here will enable the practice, and then it will provoke a shift outside that will enable Nigeria to continue to remain the great giant of Africa.
Thank you. I do hope that all of this, crystallizes in helping us to achieve our 17 SDG goals, because they are very, very important. I remember we did well with the MDGs, and I hope that this process would, accelerate our progress towards achieving most of the goals. I think we're getting direction that we have to sign. Yes, it's time to go. So let me begin to appreciate, of course, first from Professor Bola Afolabi, Senior Procurement Specialist. We'd like to thank you very much for joining us today. And we'd also like to thank Barrister Rabiat Ozigi-Yahya. Thank you. Of course, she's Head of Legal Department, Bureau of Public Procurement, and Engineer Isaiah Yusufu. Thank you very much. Director, Compliance, Certification, that's the man, no? That's the man. And last but certainly not the least is Dr. Ofiang Achibang, who, of course, is our link, with the international community. She's an international development expert at both national and subnational levels, in addition to all the portfolios that you hold. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And of course, thank you to all of you for all your messages. We hope to see you again on Monday by the grace of God. Have yourselves a pleasant weekend. I am Claire Adilabu Abdurrazak.
And I'm Ian Ray John. Enjoy your weekend, and of course, live locked on the NT.